Dark Souls 3 was, in my opinion, From Software's dark fantasy magnum opus, one of my favorite games of all time. But after it was completed, the question remains, where does From Software go from here? Well, what about a shinobi stealth action game that people thought originally would have been a Tenchu game for a good while? Moving away from stamina management to deflect tests, we have From Software's very own rhythm action game before Hi-Fi Rush made it cool. Okay, maybe it's not exactly a rhythm game, but kinda. Anyways, after beating the entire Dark Souls trilogy and not having a way to record Bloodborne, it's time to move on to one of the hardest From Software games, at least in my opinion, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. This game was brutally difficult for me to the point I only ever beat it one time back in 2020, and that was after a lot of pain and struggling. And that was also with a lot of cheese. So I was more than a bit intimidated coming back to tackle this game again, since I have a rule of never taking the normal ending in these videos, and this time around that means I gotta beat a super boss. But either way, how does it stack up? Well, it's a good game. Spoilers. Let's dive on in with a much more story-driven experience than most other games in the From Software catalog, and get ready for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. The game begins with us at barely any health at the bottom of a well. Must have been a crazy Saturday night. Your first instinct may be to run out and Oonga Boonga everything in your path, but without a sword that's a pretty bad idea, so the better plan is to be stealthy, at least for a little while. Unless you're a speedrunner, in which case jump kicking is for the win, but I am no speedrunner. When you get close to enemies when being stealthy, you can sometimes listen in closely in order to eavesdrop on them to get some extra information about what's going on in the world, often dropping little lore bits and or directions for the player to follow. Not only do you need to be stealthy, but you're also going to need to do a bit of parkour in order to meet up with Kuro, the young master that our protagonist, Wolf, serves.
You did well to come here. It's been too long, Wolf.
I've come to free you, my lord.
Well then. Raise your head. Kusabimaru, your sword. My shinobi. In accordance with the bond of lord and retainer, you will pledge your life in my service.
As you command.
And yes, I played through this game in English because it makes the video more fun for me since I can now compare the voice actors. Though, in Kuro's case, his voice actress, because yes, it's a girl, is Amber Hood, who, at least to me, doesn't have a lot of super noteworthy roles aside from, I guess, Nyx from Fire Emblem Fates and Perrin from Guru Mean: A Monstrous Adventure.
That tiny cage made my shoulders stiff. Rebuilding Monster Village should loosen me up.
I could always loosen you up with my drill.
Cock and ball torture.
Oh, and now that we have our sword Kusabi Maru, it's time to murder the hell out of some enemies. It's so violent! And as we make a bit more progress, we come across our first mini-boss of the game, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the ultimate leader, Shigenori Yamauchi! Well, that was weird. Anyways, after this point you just do a bit more platforming and maybe stealthing until you reach this door down here, then you can call Kuro to your side. Remember this place, it'll be important much, much later.
The divine heir. Last we stood together was your uncle's funeral.
Lord Genichiro. Thank you.
Leave this to me.
So the noble shinobi stands in our way.
It's time for our first battle against Genichiro Ashina, the first boss of the game, and you are not winning this boss fight. Even if you do, the only change is a brief scene where he calls you a bastard, then, well, he kicks the shit out of you anyways, and with no healing other than a singular pellet that is one-time use to your name, don't worry too much about this fight. I'll bring up Genichiro's voice actor later on, but maybe a hot take, I think his voice actor actually does an excellent job. Anyways, time to get killed.
Is that all the shinobi has to offer? The divine heir will be coming with me.
Okay, maybe not. After Genichiro kicks our ass, one way or another, we wake up in an old hut with a prosthetic arm and an old man there to greet us.
What do you call yourself? Your eyes.
That is not your concern.
Spoken like a true shinobi. I must carve the Buddha. You do what you will.
My left arm. What did you do to me?
That is what I call the shinobi prosthetic. A fitting fang for a one-armed wolf. Useless when it comes to carving Buddha, though. You can have it.
Shinobi prosthetic.
It is no mere replacement for your lost arm. Come to me if you find any shinobi tools.
Shinobi tools. I see. For this device.
You catch on quick. If you bring me shinobi tools, I'll find a way to fit them to the shinobi prosthetic. Then you'll come to appreciate its worth. I've said too much. Go now.
Why am I here?
All I did was drag you here. Didn't even know if I was dragging a corpse. Couldn't let you get eaten by a pack of wild dogs.
How long was I asleep?
Some time has passed since I found you.
I see.
However, your master yet lives. He's being held prisoner in Ashina Castle. They will soon make use of his bloodline. Looking at you, I'm sure you appreciate the value it has.
What did you mean when you said they'll make use of his bloodline?
I don't know much about him, except the dragon's heritage. There's a special kind of blood by that name, and that blood runs through your master's veins.
So the divine heir.
Someone's after him. Might be that the strange things happening to your body have something to do with that.
You might just recognize the sculptor's voice as Brian Cummings. To date, this is his last credited role in a video game, but you might better recognize him as Sokolov from the Metal Gear Solid games. And one other place that I want you to really think back on, though you probably won't get it. Give up? Well, here it is.
You betcha. A whole week in our own mountain cabin, no crowded beaches and tourist traps. This year we'll be living off the land.
He's freaking Papa Bear from the Bearstein Bears. Yeah, I never would have pieced that together. This is kind of why I love doing research like this, because you find the most ridiculous stuff. It's kind of funny. Also, I really don't mind Sekiro's English voice acting. No, it's not as immersive as something like Dark Souls, but this world isn't as fantastical as the Soulsborne games are, and while the Japanese voice acting is definitely the better choice if you're going for immersion, here's the thing, I don't mind, and I really don't want my English voice acting in feudal Japan to sound like, "Blimey, mate, you better get going or I'ma beat your ass," or some other bullshit Cockney accent thing that I just pulled out of my butt. Anyways, there's not much we can do here in our hub world, I say in massive air quotes, as the only other NPC here right now is a man that cannot die no matter how often you cut him down because he is cursed with immortality. Gee, I sure do wonder if there is a questline connected to this in the future. When you finally decide to get done fiddle farting around in the hub world, it's time to grapple hook our way into Ashina Outskirts, the first real level of the game, where the tutorial enemies start returning, but unlike the Asylum Hollows from Dark Souls, these guys aren't quite as flimsy. Granted, the regular soldiers are jokes, but the ones with hats can't be gotten rid of by just R1 spamming. You'll actually need to deflect them and then counter them, and they can also block your attacks if you're not careful. This is something that makes Sekiro a lot harder, but in many cases more addicting. Dodges are okay, but deflections are the name of the game, and aggression is a must in this game or you'll never really get anywhere. Embarrassingly, this is also where I took my first death of the run. Yeah, I'm not exactly good at these games.
Loyal wolf, take my blood and live again.
Thankfully, the name of the game is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, so you need to die at least 2 times in order to truly go down in this game. So, Wolf always has a mulligan in case something goes wrong, which means you can feel free to get experimental and maybe a little bit stupid. On a different note, I forgot that you can hold down the X button to magnetize items to you instead of pressing the button over the items like in the Souls games, so I was very confused why I wasn't getting any items or money for a solid minute. Whoops. Also, something I forgot to record in script, but this idol right here is where you will find yourself a shinobi prosthetic for an item known as a shuriken. I'll go a bit more into detail about it later on, but it is a helpful item and something I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up now. Now, be very careful here as we want to be sneaky to deal with our next foe. Why is that? Because he has 2 health bars, making him squarely in the mini-boss tier, and as you shove your sword into an unsurvivable location, the fight is on as we square up against General Naomori Kawarda. Unlike other foes, he's going to take a lot more punishment to bring down, so this is where you'll learn the beginner's deflection dance, as well as being introduced to perilous attacks. Perilous attacks generally cannot be deflected, and even when they can, they require perfect timing to do so, and they can't be blocked. There are 3 types of perilous attacks in the game, but the General here introduces us 2 sweeps that we need to jump over, And if you're really good, you can jump on their head, effectively Goomba stomping them for some extra posture damage. I said if you're good, not that I am. The last notable thing is that he has a move that decreases his posture bar. It's easy to stun him out of this move, but it encourages aggression, and overall I actually like it, and I think this boss does a great job as a tutorial. You really want to kill this guy for two big reasons. He, and most other mini-bosses for that matter, provide you with a prayer bead for defeating them. The easiest comparison I can make to these is the Legend of Zelda Pieces of Heart, where having 4 of them will boost your maximum HP. The other item is a special item known as the Gourd Seed. Having one of these will increase the total number of healing charges you have in your flask. Otherwise, just keep exploring around until you clear out enemies, but try to grind up to about 500 Sin, the coins in this game. It'll be important pretty shortly. Well, that didn't work. This scene is kind of important, so I'm just gonna let it play out.
Here's some coin.
Thanks, good sir.
Now talk.
Yes, of course. That night. So my gang broke into the Hirata estate. Now, as you're aware, the Hirata family is part of the Ashina. Now, normally they'd mop the floor with petty thieves like us. No sweat. But just so happened we broke in during a battle. Yeah. Almost all the young samurai were away from home. It was a prime opportunity. Then we started a fire and cleaned out the place. That there's when I met you. You were looking for something. At least that's what it looked like to me. Well, that's all I know about that night.
I see.
Yeah, that look you're making now. You had that same look on your face that night. You still looking for something? Listen, good sir, for a price, I might be able to tell you. For a price, of course.
I'll buy some information.
Thank you very much for your patronage. Since you're a shinobi, I'll give you some information about shinobi tools.
If you could.
Now, I've seen this tube. A tube with fire blasting out of it. Huh? When we broke into the Hirata estate, one of my pals nabbed one. That's the sound the fire makes when it blasts out.
So we learn about shinobi tools and an explosive barrel that you can carry around of sorts. This might be interesting information to pocket for later. Exploring a bit more, you'll probably see this big spooky guy with red eyes chained up. If you find some enemies you can eavesdrop on, you can learn that he's afraid of fire. Maybe we should explore a little bit more and find out about that Hirata estate, since they had a flame barrel we could find there. You also want to speak with this old lady here, as she will give you a bell. It's an important charmed bell that will be very useful to us very shortly. I should mention that if you have the bell in your inventory when speaking with the old lady's son Inosuke, he's right outside her house, it will be mentioned in the conversation, which is a neat touch. Now, with the bell charm, we can go and do some optional content, but first make sure you get a total of 500 Sin to obtain this item known as Robert's Firecrackers, a tool we're definitely gonna need later. Also keep that name Robert in the back of your mind. It'll come up in the future. But hey, let's go fight that big chained ochre guy. After returning to the hut and reviving via the dragon's blood, a new lady will be here. Emma, one of my favorite characters in the game, and she acts kind of as your firekeeper in this game, sort of, and she'll be the one improving your healing throughout the game. As for her voice actress, you've almost certainly heard her before, but I'll give you a few seconds to think it over.
What master?
Forgive me, but for his safety, I cannot reveal his identity. However, my master gave explicit orders to assist you in any way I can.
Yeah, it's Stephanie Shea.
Of the moon! I'll punish you! Bananas, butter, and bean jam seem to have made it too!
Ugh, I don't want to know what she's gonna make with that.
And that's to say nothing about her roles as Estelle in the Trails in the Sky series or Hinata from Naruto. Or even some other From Software games such as Little Z from Armored Core 6. At this point, we are also good to speak with the craftsman, his friends call him orangutan, and show him our prosthetic attachments we've obtained as a way to get more out of our shinobi prosthetic. You can always get the shuriken prosthetic, which is pretty much free. It can be useful for ranged attacks and suppression damage, but more importantly, the firecrackers can be used to stun most enemies in the game, and by most enemies, I mean like 95% of the opponents in all but 2.5 of the boss fights in this game. They're very useful. Anyhow, after you're done speaking with both Emma and Oringa Craftsman, you can go ahead and use the bell on the Buddha statue to access an optional area, and honestly, unless you're doing a speedrun, I find this the best time to go and do it.
Close your eyes. Hear the bell speak to you. The bell's chime will stir your thoughts and awaken old memories from their slumber.
Back to the past, Samurai Jack. Hirata Estate is kinda different compared to the Ashina outskirts. Here you'll find bandits as the main enemy types instead of soldiers. These guys have dirtier tricks but are arguably easier to deal with. At least the normal versions are. The fire arrow bandits are a pain in the ass, and the shield ones are a gimmick enemy designed to utilize a specific ninja tool against them. As you explore, you'll come across one of the essential ninja tools you can find here, that being the flame barrel. A powerful burst of fire that does damage and inflicts blaze on most enemies, especially if they are red-eyed monsters or if they have been covered in oil. The other major ninja tool you'll want to find here is an axe attachment, which is great for extending a combo slightly or tearing through an enemy's defenses, especially if they rely on a shield. It's also really good if you just need a big bonk to end things off. And with both tools in hand, I highly recommend you head back to the sculptor to upgrade your prosthetic to get those, well, added to your prosthetic. With the axe and the flame torch, we can now make some more progress through the Hirata estate. As it turns out, flesh is somewhat averse to being lit on fire or having a giant slab of metal thrown through it. Well, I guess not really thrown, more like slammed through it. Also, I highly recommend learning the Makiri counter skill, as this is how you'll be able to stop thrusting perilous attacks, and that's going to be important very soon. And by very soon, I mean right now, because you're going to need that to bring down Shinobi Hunter Inshin of Maizen, one of the most annoying mini-bosses in the game because he's surrounded by other enemies and has an obnoxiously long run back where you have to either be stealthy or wait 5 minutes to lose all the enemy aggro. I don't like him, and his perilous thrusts look pretty similar to his not-so-perilous thrusts that you cannot Makiri, and trying to do so will get you beat up. I'm glad he's a one-off mini-boss because I just don't enjoy fighting him. He's not fun, and he's required to progress past this point, which really sucks. After that, just keep moving. The next part of Hirata is just super linear. Try not to die. Okay, I know this fire looks bad, but I promise it wasn't me.
Father, it's you. I'm afraid I made a bit of a blunder. Perhaps the years have finally caught up with me. Don't bother tending to my wounds, no point. It's too late. Wolf, you must take this. This is the key to the secret temple in the estate mansion. You'll find him. The divine air. Going through the front is not an option. You'll never get past the fire.
Yes, sir. Perhaps the cliff's just outside of here.
Yes. Return to the estate entrance. You look for a side road along the cliffs. Take the back entrance through the cemetery. That's your way in.
Understood.
Wolf, never forget the Iron Code.
Yes.
The master is absolute. Wolf, protect your master with
Oh no, Dad is dead! Yeah, as if I'm gonna believe that "oh I'm slain" ass speech. Anyways, everything here is on fire, so keep on running until you reach the idol, which is pretty close by. Just remember you're probably gonna need to grapple over it, because the fire's pretty bad. So, who's ready for an annoying mini-boss? What? You said no? Well, why wouldn't you want to sneak around and take out entirely too many enemies before fighting this massive opponent that hits harder than any other foe up to this point in the game, as well as being able to poison you with most of his attacks after he applies his buff? Being for real, I recommend trying to take out as many of the enemies as you can, maybe even deathblow Juzuo, but if things get hairy, just bail out for a while, and then eventually talk to the dude who's just chilling out here, as he will help you in battle. He has limited HP and can die, but he can at least grab some aggro while you cheese out Juzuo with things like Fistfuls of Ash and Firecrackers. Don't fight fairly, because this man is just about to one-tap you with anything he throws, and his poison will finish you off for good measure if you somehow still survived. I really don't like this fight. After enough persistence and cheesing, Juzuo will finally go down. And now you can make a bit more progress getting to head into the Hirata estate itself. You can speak to friendly NPCs here, snag an idol if you want to, and you'll also get some sake for defeating Juzuo, which I'll go into a bit more later. We can also go fight our first boss. But we're close to upgrading our HP, so you know what, let's go back to the present and kill the ogre first. I think that'll be useful. Now, with the flame barrel in hand and back in the present, let's go fight the chained ogre and hopefully not get thrown off the cliff this time. As you see, when he's not tossing you around like a ragdoll, the ogre is very different from other opponents in the game, using the third type of perilous attack, grabs. And when he grabs you, he's going to slam you, then throw you across the arena, potentially off a cliff. And if you die from gravity, you can't use your revive, so be careful. Otherwise, he fights like a theatrical wrestler, honestly, doing a lot of dramatic drop kicks in the people's elbow. It's a toughie, but the flame vent not only does good damage to him, but it's pretty much guaranteed to stun him from burning. So use your tools a lot to snag a pretty reliable win, albeit not necessarily an easily earned one. And once you're done, I recommend probably killing this guy too. Okay, fine, to be a bit more fair, once you kill the chained ogre, you get an automatic boost to your medicine proficiency, which increases the healing of your gourd for the rest of the game. As well as you'll find an additional gourd seed up here, which is really nice, and you'll get yourself a prayer bead. The general also gives you a prayer bead as well, but you probably won't need it unless you skipped a mini-boss somewhere along the way, and sadly, we can't skip Inshin, so I got nothing. Anyways, let's go get back to Hirata and kill the first true boss of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Although it's not the one you're supposed to fight first, but hey, it's one of my videos, what are you expecting?
Father? Mother? The butterflies. Everyone is gone.
My lord. Illusion technique.
It's been a long time, son of Owl.
I need Butterfly. Leave us.
Who are...
Do what must be done.
Yes.
Now then, son of Owl, shall we dance?
This is Lady Butterfly, an optional boss, but one that's scaled for early game, and while she's arguably tougher than the first required boss of the game, I don't think she's nearly as good as some of the other bosses for a few reasons. Phase 1 has a cool moveset with her slicing and kicking at you, and then jumping around on her wires, which you can actually use your shurikens to knock her out of the air, or your firecrackers to make her flinch on the ground. But none of this really matters for one big reason, and that is her AI is broken. You can just repeatedly R1, then quick step. She cannot handle you in your little spin slash attack. Yes, this is cheese, but it's not hard to perform or a precise trick. It's just you casually doing this because this game has unlimited stamina. So there is nothing to stop you from breaking her AI and turning her from a potentially interesting and dynamic boss fight into a complete and total joke with overdramatic music. Of course, that doesn't mean we're done, because every major boss in this game, well, almost every major boss in this game, has at least 2 health bars. So, once you take her down, she jumps right back down again because you were just fighting an illusion, and now she wants you to lose yourself in her illusions. What does this mean? It means she summons enemies that chase you around the arena. You can kill them if you want or waste your snap seed, but the smarter choice is to just run around the arena until she snaps them all into a projectile, then keep running or hide behind a pillar. After that, it's just phase 1 with a projectile attack thrown in, but it doesn't really matter. You're just going to keep spamming the R1 dodge slash over and over again. There's not much to it. But at least the rewards are pretty good for slaying her, as you'll get 2 key items: a memory, something dropped by every major boss that increases your attack power, and the Sakura droplet, an item that won't be able to be utilized until a good bit later in the game, but is still very helpful. Now, after Lady Butterfly's been taken care of, all we need to do is go find Kuro, the young lord, and help him get to safety. I'm sure that altering the timeline won't have any adverse consequences.
I cannot throw away such loyalty. Loyal wolf, take my blood and live again.
Well, now we know why Wolf was down in the pit at the game's start. Anyways, we can now speak with the sculptor, as well as give him some sake for additional dialogue, so I say let's do so.
It appears as though your old memories have been awakened.
Yes, I saw the divine air.
I see. I won't say any more, and neither should you. All that you saw was yours alone.
Sculptor, what did that Buddha show you?
Were you listening?
Tell me.
Flames.
Flames?
That is all I can see. It doesn't matter what offering I make. Flames, spreading as far as the eye can see, and consuming Ashina.
That's...
We're done here.
I brought some sake.
Don't mind if I do.
Is it not to your liking?
No, it's damn good. But it does make my old wounds ache.
Your left arm?
Yes, and this sake was a favorite of the man who cut it off.
Who was?
Lord Ishin.
Ishin? Why?
He did it for my sake. I was on the verge of being consumed.
Consumed by what?
Shura. Well, whether you believe me or not, that's for you to decide. But you do well to beware Shura's shadow. Another time that I'll lend you shelter.
Well, that was a fun sideshow, so I guess we should get back to the main story and start progressing the dang game. I chose to use the memory to upgrade my attack power, so now I'll do a little bit more damage as we go, though too bad it's not going to be very useful for what we're about to encounter. The giant here is known as the Great Serpent. We need to be very quiet sneaking around here, as the snake is a very dangerous level hazard that if he spots you will go in for the kill, and he does does enough damage to basically one-shot a player at this point. Actually, it might just straight up be a one-shot in general. Hide in the brush, sidle along the cliffs, and try not to piss yourself in the process, because it's going to make you very uncomfortable and get very close to the Green Serpent at all times. I love this part of the game. It's actually a really cool set piece. After hiding for long enough, the time comes to finally deal with the giant snake. So, when you get the prompt, get ready and shove Kusabi Maru right into his fucking eye to show him who's boss. Now that he's freaking out, don't fall to your death here, or the illusion will be broken as his AI is set to do his patrol through the areas you are in, except when he's in his freakout animation, he'll repeatedly do that. If you fall, you respawn back at the start of the area, and you just have to run through it while he's doing a freakout animation, screaming and all. It, kind of breaks the sequence. It's really goofy, but it ruins the illusion and the immersion, and also kind of the scariness factor. Though, I will admit, this segment does a pretty good job making me nervous, even when playing through this game again, and I already know what to do. After this, it's really just take an idol, and then it's time for our first required boss fight of the game. There is a eavesdrop hint that warns you, hey, firecrackers might be good, but that's about it.
My name is Kyobu Masataka!
Oh, shut up, will ya?
Move in haste and die, brat!
This is Gyobu Masataka Oniwa, aka Horseman. The first required boss of the game, Gyobu is a surprisingly tough foe to conquer as he has good range and he can combo you, on top of having kind of weird movement since he's on a horse and we hadn't really had mounted bosses up to this point in the series, though they would have become a lot more common in Elden Ring. However, as he's on a horse, he's extremely weak to firecrackers, which will stun him, and he stuns more than most bosses in general do, because, well, he's your first required boss. When his body gets low to the ground, like when he's turning, you can actually grapple off of the helmet and lead yourself right up to him. At least I think it's his helmet. Be careful though when spamming firecrackers, as after the first firecracker stun, he'll gain the ability to counter it with a slam down after Onikage has reared back. It's a good way to stop you from spamming the same weakness carelessly, but at the same time, a skilled player can take advantage of the slam by turning it into yet another parry. And he'll also go for jumping attacks more often to give him temporary immunity to firecrackers. Overall, I think Gyobu is a fantastic first boss that really sets the tone of the game and is definitely a better introduction than Lady Butterfly, even if Butterfly is the one I always do first. And for slaying him, not only are you going to get yourself a memory, but also you get the Mechanical Barrel, an item that allows you to upgrade your shinobi prosthetic tools. This ability is honestly really cool, but you'll probably only use it for about half the possible prosthetics in the game unless you're going for 100%. I don't think I've ever upgraded the Flame Vent, but firecrackers and shuriken are really useful when boosted, so keep those in mind. Alright, it's time to head to Ashina Castle where Kuro is being held. I'm sure absolutely nothing will distract us from reaching the top to save our young lord, as we are 100% focused on completing the main objective, is what I would say, but first turn around and check the building on the other side of the Gyobu battlefield. You'll start seeing the corpses of some of these dead-looking purple ninja dudes as well.
Another rat. But those eyes, a starving wolf. Before I kill you, tell me your name. Tell me your name! No name to give. You shinobi are all the same. You die nameless, with no one to mourn you. However, your left arm, a prosthetic shinobi arm, it reminds me of... That's it. A one-armed wolf. I like it. Which means Sekiro. That is what I shall name you. Who are you? I am the Tengu of Ashina. Come, Sekiro. Care to hunt some rats with me? What? Rats have snuck into Ashina, scurrying about like they own the place. There are all kinds of rats out there, and they must be cut down. Every last one of them. It seems you have a talent for killing. Allow me to help you hone that talent. What'll it be, Sekiro? Will you hunt rats with me?
Very well.
Excellent. You'll need this if you're with me, Sekiro.
This man is known as the Tengu. Remember him, he'll be important later, but more importantly at the moment, he gives us the name Sekiro, sorta like the game itself. He'll also give us an objective to go hunt and kill the rats around the castle, so let's do that real quick. With that handled, we can explore around some more, and we can find the memory of Kuro speaking with Genichiro.
We managed to drive them back once, but the Interior Ministry's army is far too powerful.
And that is why you wish to use the power of my blood. It doesn't matter how much power you obtain. You'll keep on fighting until you're a monster, incapable of feeling pain or fear. I do not wish to corrupt the lives of men.
Look at this mountain of bodies. Ashina cannot be defended by mortal means.
I could never be as strong as you, Lord Genichiro. I do not yet know what it is I should do.
It has been a long time since that happened. Wait all you like. It'll do you no good.
That cutscene, well, not even really a cutscene, but that gives a lot of story context to things. We find out what was going on in the 3 years between us getting shanked and, well, the prologue, as well as kind of learning the army that's been invading Ashina and causing much of trouble, the Interior Ministry. That's all those purple ninja corpses that you've been seeing strewn about occasionally. And I guess something I could speak about is Genichiro's voice actor. It's a spoiler, we're never going to meet with Genichiro in person. That doesn't immediately lead into a boss fight, so let's talk about his voice actor now. And in my opinion, it's a performance that doesn't get nearly enough credit. He's voiced by Ray Chase, who has done some villain roles in the past like Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen, but I don't like that show. And he's also the master of masters from Kingdom Hearts. But a lot of other roles are characters like Alphen from Tales of Arise, Adult Nier from Nier Replicant, Roy from Fire Emblem, and Noctis from Final Fantasy XV. More often than not, he tends to play roles of a heroic character, if not the main protagonist, and I think it's a great casting choice for Genichiro, as a man who is doing everything he can and willing to sacrifice his own humanity in order to save his country of Ashina. Anyways, that's enough gassing up Genichiro. It's time to fight the bull, also known as the worst required battle in the entire game. It sucks, and I hate it. Just kill it and move on. Use your firecrackers and be a cheap ass. With that, we're now in Ashina Castle. This area stands out as it will connect to other major areas of the game, so it's sort of a hub world that we'll be coming back to quite often, as it ultimately leads to 3 other major areas of the game that we have to go to. If you go over this way, you'll very quickly realize this is the tutorial area just in the daytime, and if you go back to where Kuro is, well, you will come across a very powerful mini-boss known as 7 Ashina Spears Shikibu Toshikatsu Yamauchi. That's really not that hard to say, guys. Unfortunately, in my fight, he killed me deader than the F-Zero franchise, and after you've died enough times in-game, something happens.
So, you're awake. Your death is not your fate. Just yet.
A plague known as the Dragon Rot will spread. This is the side effect of our character being able to near endlessly come back to life, as it will use the life force of other people, and after a while they will become inflicted with Dragon Rot. What does this mean in game? Well, someone inflicted with Dragon Rot, when not cured, will be unable to have their questlines advanced, and your Unseed Aid or Lucky Lifelines will happen much less often. Thankfully, essential features like merchants and the sculptor still work, even under dragon rot, but to cure them, we're going to need to find people that have been afflicted with dragon rot and collect blood samples for Emma to heal it. This can be done casually, so just do it as you play the game. Go back to the merchants that you found throughout the game. They will more than likely be the ones carrying the dragon rot for you. Now, 7 Ashina Spears is a hard battle. He fights in a way that can best be described as Gyobu on foot. He has different swings, fake-outs, mix-ups, combos, and thrusts to the point he honestly is just as complex as a Remembrance boss and arguably even harder than any required Remembrance boss. However, there's only 2 of these guys in the game, and each of them can be cheesed out of one of their 2 health bars to significantly reduce the difficulty. Still not an easy fight. Though I guess while we're fighting him, now would be a good time to mention the dragon rot some more and explain why Kuro was reluctant to give his blood to Genichiro and the soldiers, because we've seen Wolf. He's just died 5 times and now people are already beginning to be afflicted with dragon rot. If you gave that to a bunch of soldiers and they kept going into battle, that would be hundreds upon hundreds of deaths, and very quickly the entire nation would be wiped out by the dragon rot because there's no known cure for it. Emma's working on one, but even at this point she doesn't have one made yet. And even if she was able to make it, well, it wouldn't be guaranteed to be perfect. After 7 Spears is dead, you can speak with this simp dude, but really we need to just go back to where the game began.
He said I'd find a cowardly wolf here. No sign of him, though. A broken and incompetent shinobi living in disgrace. I hope to see such a man for myself, but seems I'm out of luck. And if he truly cannot die, I'm sure I'll run into him at some point. Hey, you there.
This is the Lone Shadow Longswordsman, a tough foe if fought honorably, so you know what? Don't fight him honorably. If you were paying attention during the opening, you know Emma dropped a letter down the hole during the start of the game, so you can drop down the same hole and plunge your sword right into him to take off a health bar. Now, Lone Shadows are much tougher than the average foe, being able to do various slices, sweeps, and kicks to attack, including using their own leg as a perilous thrust attack. I kinda wish you could break his leg with a Makiri, but it'd probably break the game. This guy can be a lot tougher than other foes up to this point in the game, and it is necessary to beat him to progress the game, but a way you can cheese him is to run from one end of the arena to the other and unleash a charged R1 as he runs up, which I kind of recommend doing against this Lone Shadow because the arena is a little bit too cramped, making it a bit of a mess. And taking him out gets you a bead as well as another place you can go to, which is always good. And you get some scrap magnetite, which I guess I should mention magnetite and those items are used to upgrade your prosthetics, which I'll go a bit more into when it finally becomes relevant. If we continue past the swordsman, we can head to another area known as the Abandoned Dungeon. This place is really just a quick area you run through, so I won't talk much about it other than the enemies here must be killed twice to truly stay dead, and the Simp Lord is continuing down this path as well. Now, who's ready for a From Software staple? Could it really be anything else? While I was originally scripting this, I didn't know if this video was going to come out first or the Spectrobes video. Well, the Spectrobes video came out first, so I actually wasn't sure which Poison Swamp count this would be. That's not important though. Thankfully, there's very little we actually need to do in this Poison Swamp other than take out a very specific, difficult foe. That would be Snake Eyes Shirahagi, a sniper woman that can gun you down quickly and is one of the toughest opponents in the entire game. And if it wasn't for the fact that we can stealth off one of her health bars, she would be a contender for the hardest boss in the entire game for me. Which is odd, because there's a later Snake Eyes that can't be stealthed off, but she's much easier for some reason. Also, unlike other enemies, Snake Eyes have a perilous grab attack that can be deflected. The timing when it starts, though, is her jerking her gun back towards you after she sends it out past your shoulder. It's very weird and takes some getting used to. Once she goes down, you can make more progress to enter the large room with absolutely nothing in it. Well, that's weird. Maybe we should come back here later. Anyways, let's go through it and just keep on going for now. And welcome to the foggy forest area of sorts. It's an interesting area, but it should also be noted that Jinzaimon is still thirsting after that shamisen player hard, because apparently he knows it's a lady. I mean, he's right, but it's kind of weird how he figured it out. As we enter the forest, we learn it's been taken over by a corrupted mist, raising the spirits of the dead to attack passerbys. The mist is being caused by a mysterious melody being played by a heretic sealed off in a house, so we need to find an opening in the roof to reach him. Well, how do we do that? Pretty much just run around the whole perimeter of the forest, and the general rule is if you can go left, that's probably an answer you should take. It's not that long once you know the route, taking about 2 minutes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the hardest battle in the entire game? Also, volume warning for those of you who are just listening on your phone. With the terrifying archdemon of Japan felled, we can now enter Mibu Village, an interesting area with a few things here, such as enemies that respawn multiple times, which actually makes for very good early game grinding since they give you experience every time you kill them, and it might be worth farming because you'll want to build up some money so you can get the purple gourd, which provides defense against the terror status effect and removes any buildup you would have. It also refills every time you rest at an idol, and you get 5 charges. It's an unlimited pacifying agent, and why is terror so bad exactly? Well, terror is an instant death stat. You don't want that. So having a gourd that stops it is actually really good, and I'm glad that this is probably the easiest to find status gourd in the game. There's also some really useful items here, such as Divine Grass, which fully heals you, and I never used it, as well as things like Divine Confetti, which can buff your sword temporarily and make you do a lot of damage against apparition enemies, and also spirit enemies in general. And the Gourd Seed, which is extremely useful for obvious reasons because more healing is always good. At this point you should also probably have collected a blood sample, so if you've got a warp spot, I recommend going back to Emma and giving it to her so she can work on a cure. It's going to be a little while before we can get it, so it's better to have her start now. Wow, this guy is down bad. Anyways, there's a lady playing the shamisen here. We're going to completely ignore her for now. And for a long time, actually. She's going to be angry and chase us, but you know what? Ignore her, just keep on booking it. Keep going. Run to the end. When you're ready for pain and suffering, it's time to fight another major boss, the Corrupted Monk. If you come to this boss fight when you're intended to, this battle is kind of a joke. But if you come here right now, as your third boss in the entire game, she's a total nightmare, as you have to pretty much take out her entire HP bar to kill her, or get her stuck in the perfect rhythm, which you might not have the spirit emblems and materials to perform at this point, because a lot of it involves using firecrackers. This is honestly my least favorite fight in the game, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, which is more my fault than anything else, but I still want to complain about it. Anyways, after you're out of spirit emblems and attack buffs, the smartest move is to actually wait and bait out her jump attack before dashing in to get 1 or 2 hits in, then dash away, because you have unlimited stamina in Sekiro. It's a very good strategy, albeit a very cheeky one. And after 6 freaking minutes of waiting and baiting, she will finally go down. Yeah, surprisingly there's no phase 2. Unlike other major bosses, she only has a single phase and the fight feels kind of unfinished. Past her, we can find a few items, and most importantly the Shelter Stone, which is required to progress through the game, as well as giving us the ability to swim underwater infinitely. We will be getting a lot of use out of this item going forward, and I kind of wanted to pick it up now, though it may not be the best idea because that also makes, well, it changes the world permanently, when it makes things a bit more expensive. Mostly spirit emblems. Alright, time to make a bit of progress. Going into Ashina Castle, you'll be greeted by a dude giving an intense speech and the final general mini-boss of the game. We're kind of at the end of it. He has a proper name, that would be Kuranosuke Matsumoto, but I affectionately refer to him as General Gun Gang because he's flanked by a bunch of those annoying riflemen that are not very fun to deal with. He's technically optional, but you know, kill him for the bead and move on with your life. Also, at this point we'll now need to run along the roof and we'll come across more acrobatic enemies that are more unusual than the prior foes we faced and a lot more flippy, but they also have combos that are less about doing big damage and more about death by 1,000 cuts. So if you can get a good deflect in, you'll be a little bit okay. They're not easy enemies though, at least not for me, I kinda suck at fighting them. Honest to goodness, I don't know what these kite enemies are called, but everyone I know calls them the Woo guys, and they will dive bomb your ass for massive damage while telegraphing with their iconic woo. Anyways, Ashina Castle has some layers to it, either traveling the inner areas or heading through the outside portions of the map in order to reach your, well, young lord at the top of Ashina Castle. It's a very layered dungeon, and I kinda like that. Coming around back, you'll see a bridge area and you can eavesdrop to learn that more people are dying and food is starting to go bad, so salt is kind of important right now. But this bridge leads somewhere, so you know what time it is? More ignoring the main objective. Okay, but seriously, I actually do recommend doing this one early because the world will permanently change after reuniting with Kuro and become a little bit harder, and I'd rather get the worst area in the game over with now. Yep, we're doing it early. Though I should mention, if we came here before killing Corrupted Monk, where the storm hadn't rolled in yet, there would be a different eavesdrop conversation.
Word around the office is you got a fat tot.
So, when we head out into the snowy area, there's these monkey enemies that are a joke, but also kinda dangerous, but not really. They are weird, and basically they are just chaos incarnate, so it might be worth taking them out, or it might be worth just ignoring them entirely. It's kind of up to you. Welcome to the Sunken Valley, or the first half of it anyways. We're going to be going to an area known as the Gun Fort, and I don't like it very much for reasons we'll get into right now, actually, because the enemies here, well, simply put, they are packing heat. Make sure you pick up the idol here, because you might just die a lot to this next challenge we're taking on. Ducking and dodging your way through the firing squad, we will come across the boss of the area, none other than Snake Eyes Shirafuji, the much easier of the two Snake Eyes battles despite having 2 health bars and you can't really cheat one off. So why is she easier? Honestly, I don't actually know, she just is. The difficulty is just getting up to her without getting blasted by everything and its brother. Once you get here, her fight's really not that bad, you can kinda just cheese her out. When she goes down, it's time to run and duck for cover, as the entire valley is now at range day and you are the target. And when you finally stop getting turned into Swiss cheese, you can go along the side paths in order to sneak yourself into the inner areas with fewer opponents firing on you, and if you need to abuse the wait and bait, you totally can. Surprisingly, this area is much shorter than I remember. I remember it taking me hours to get through, probably because I was dying a lot, but really, it only took about 10 minutes to get through here after I killed Shirafuji, so I don't know, maybe I've just gotten better at the game even though I haven't played it in 5 years. Guess all that time playing through the Dark Souls trilogy paid off. Past the Gun Fort, we have an idol and some much needed rest, but we now have ourselves another boss of sorts, the long-armed centipede giraffe. What I don't like about this battle is how the arena has a random fog wall thrown in the middle of it. But the battle itself isn't too bad, it's basically just a deflection test. He's going to spam the same attack over and over, where the goal is to just deflect him and posture break him, and if he stops for a second and brings his claws back, he's going for a sweep you can jump over or on his head. I'm not that good though. It's a simple battle, but one I find kind of fun. Sadly, that's as far as we can go for now, so I guess we'll finally get back to progressing the story like we're supposed to because I've exhausted basically every avenue we can up to this point, and I've been drawing it out long enough, so the joke's probably gotten stale. Now, unless you're doing some major sequence breaking or wall hopping, a major choke point of Ashina Castle is going to be the inner chamber areas where you will come across a bunch of enemy samurai. You can stealth around, but some of these guys are here to show that deflection is the best way to go, as the game really wants you to be prepared for the upcoming boss fight, so get ready and get to it. Near the second idol inside, you'll see a cutscene where Emma speaks with Kuro about the rejuvenating waters. This is another way to gain immortality, but the cost is one far worse than the Dragon Rod. What cost exactly? Well, we'll learn more about it later in the game, but keep it in the back of your mind, it will come up and be important later on. In the meantime, we have ourselves a required mini-boss fight against the Ashina Elite Gensuke Saze. His fight is extremely simple, as either you will deflect him, or you'll probably die. Thankfully, his stamina is so low that 4 deflections should be enough to completely take him out, and once he goes down, you earn an essential skill known as lightning deflections, which will be very important very soon. This is kind of your last big stat check, or I guess not really a stat check, but a skill check before we get to the big boss, because after we take out the boss of this area, we are going to have the game world open up a lot, and the game will permanently become a good bit harder. There's one last thing to snag if you go behind the stairs leading up to the idol and the Gensuke Saze arena. You can find a route that leads to a back room where you will find Ishin's letter. I sadly forgot to record the run up to here, so, you know, big unknowns. Something terrible must have happened here.
How is grandfather?
Lord Ishin's. It's a wonder he is still with us. A miracle.
Is that so? Divine Heir, I'll ask you once more. Accept me into your immortal oath.
I cannot do that, Lord Genichiro. Your victory that day means nothing. He will risk his life to take me home. For he is my shinobi.
My lord, I have come for you. This will only take a moment.
I see. For as long as you are alive, the dragon's blood can never be mine.
Get ready for a tough one because Genichiro is the get good boss of the game. You will learn this boss or you're not progressing. Or you trap him in the door because door cheese is busted, but we're not going to be doing that for this video. Genichiro fights in a way comparable to the generals, having your vertical and horizontal slashes as well as sweeping attacks, but he can also incorporate a thrust as a perilous attack into his, well, moveset. And he also has a bow he can use at all ranges, including right in front of your face, a grab attack, and his own special combo he can perform. On top of that, his jumping attack allows him to follow up with a sweep, a thrust, or his bow. There's a lot of answers here, and no one solution to this battle, but at the same time, his difficulty isn't as severe as it may initially seem. He's gonna make you learn, but he still wants you to overcome him and have over half the game left to explore. He's a tough fight, but once you've gotten the dance down, he's very doable, and honestly, once you've gotten this fight down, the rest of Sekiro is conquerable. This is pretty much the biggest hurdle you'll have to clear to beat the game.
Impressive, shinobi of the Divine Heir. But you deserve better. Would you not answer to a different lord?
Heresy.
Heresy, you say? If it
is for the sake of preserving Ashina. I will seize any manner of heretical strength. I will do any burden. Behold the lightning of Tomoe.
But of course, we're not done yet, as Genichiro is your first boss with 3 health bars and phases to tackle. This phase has a lot of the same attacks, just more aggressive than before and faster. The largest shakeups are his leaping thrust, which can be Makiri'd, but also covers a lot of distance to punish carelessness, so you need to stay focused. The other big attack is when he leaps into the air to gather lightning in his arrow and fire it at you. Alternatively, he could gather in his sword and slash at you, but I don't see that one too often. The options to deal with the lightning are either to dodge it by jumping away, or jumping into the air and redirecting his lightning back into him. You will take a little bit of damage, but he will take a lot more, and he will get stunned for a good bit. However, simply posture breaking him isn't good enough for me. I want this man to die. So I decided to keep on fighting until his health bar hit 0. Did this drag the fight out and ultimately cost me 4 extra deaths that I would have had him beat on my 3rd try? Yeah. Do I regret it? No, not really.
You were victorious, I see.
Are you?
I mean you no harm. Shinobi of the Divine Lord Genichiro, is this the rejuvenating waters?
Ashina. This land is everything to me. For her sake, I will shed humanity itself.
Resurrection.
Yes. Indeed.
So at this point, we're now good to finally reunite with our young Lord Kuro. And we're going to in just a moment. You can speak with Emma to learn that she works for Ishin Ashina, the current leader of Ashina. However, he is getting sick and starting to fall ill in his old age. He doesn't have much time left. Meanwhile, Kuro is the one who stands to inherit it. Although Genichiro is the actual warrior, but he's an adopted son, so it doesn't mean much for him. Anyways, we've put it off long enough. Let's finally go speak with Kuro and get the story going.
I have come for you, my lord.
Yes, you did well to come here.
Let us go. We must leave Ashina.
Wolf, my blood. The blood of the dragon causes men to become undying. The same goes for you.
Yes, my lord.
I wished to save you. I'm sure that I would do the same thing given another chance. However, undying begets stagnation. The immortal oath, the rejuvenating waters, the dragon rot, they all corrupt men, to the point that they no longer live as men. I wish to sever the chains of stagnation bred by the dragon's heritage. Wolf, will you help me achieve this aim?
protect you, the divine heir. That was the duty my father entrusted to me.
How many times have you died and come back to life for my sake? 2, 3 times? Or perhaps a number so large that it cannot be counted?
As it was for the purpose of defending my lord, the number does not matter.
I do not wish to bind you to an eternity of undeath. Wolf, join me in my quest to sever the ties of immortality.
As you wish.
Thank you, loyal wolf. If we are seeking to sever the immortal ties, I know a good place to start. Wolf, look at this.
So at this point, we're given our task to go find the Mortal Blade and other key items for Immortal Severance, one of which was actually guarded by the corrupted monk we already took out. So, you know, we're actually doing pretty good there. There is an intended order, but I'm going to go in my own order for no real reason other than because I can. The big things of note here are we finally reunite with Kuro, we get the key that allows us to explore past the gun fort, and we can give Kuro the Sakura droplet that we got all the way back during the Lady Butterfly battle in order to give Wolf a third possible revive, which is helpful for long levels and some boss fights. I will be showing off a fair number of cutscenes here, so if you want to skip that and get back to gameplay, feel free to jump ahead to the next chapter.
About the divine heir's life,
Yes?
there is something I wish to ask.
Before that, sake.
What?
You earned it. Take it. My grandson, Genichiro, was bewitched by the rejuvenating waters. You did well to put a stop to that for me. You have my thanks.
I merely followed the code my father taught me.
Ah, the Iron Code of the Shinobi.
I see. So you're the son of Owl.
That boy he found during the rebellion.
Yes.
And your travels brought you here. The bonds that tie us are so deeply amusing. Don't you think, Sekiro?
You're...
So what do you wish to know?
The divine heir's desire is to sever the ties of immortality. I want to know how it can be done.
The Mortal Blade. If you had such a weapon, it may be the key to what you are after.
The Mortal Blade?
With it, you could kill one who cannot die through normal means.
One who cannot die?
The Infested, I believe they are called. I have not seen one before, but it said you could stab them through the heart, or remove their head, and they wouldn't die. If the stories are true, they'd surely be quite fearsome. To kill a monster such as that, you'd need the Mortal Blade.
Where is this Mortal Blade?
I've heard it's held in Senpou Temple. However, they say the Mortal Blade cannot be drawn.
What do you mean?
I am not certain of the meaning. It's just hearsay. The gates to that temple are closed now, though. Who knows what those degenerates are doing shut away up there in the mountains. There aren't any decent roads leading there.
How do I get there?
The abandoned dungeon just outside of Ashina Castle. If you can pass through its waterways, you should find your way.
Here.
Well, well. If it isn't Dragon Spring. You've really done it this time, Sekiro. That hit the spot. Whenever I used to get my hands on Dragon Spring, bunch of fools would start coming to me, demanding drinks.
Fools?
Fools who wouldn't let go of their cross spears while they drank. Fools who would steal sake using illusion techniques. Fools tinkering with half-finished prosthetics, sake cup in hand, and even the cunning owl.
who despite his size would turn bright red after the first drop.
That's...
Yes, your father was a fool too.
Here.
Are you offering me the sake I gave you? Delightful. I'll take it. That's the stuff. By the way, how was Genichiro?
What do you mean?
You two crossed blades, did you not?
To put it simply, he was strong, and he had unusual techniques.
I see.
What exactly is the lightning of Tomoe?
That is a technique belonging to Genichiro's mentor. I'll wager it was quite the sight.
His mentor?
Tomoe. There aren't many masters of the sword like her. To see her fight, it's like she's dancing. When you look into her eyes, you feel as if you're being drawn into the depths of the ocean. I was completely taken by her, and it almost killed me. I've lived a long life, but that was the closest I've come to death. I've heard the Mortal Blade is in Senpou Temple. However, they say the Mortal Blade, there aren't any abandoned if you can... You're leaving, Sekiro, severing immortality. That will be quite the battle. And in battle, the plans and desires of those involved churn endlessly. If you hesitate, you'll be swept away.
And lose the battle.
That's right. Best you keep it in mind. Sekiro, hesitate, and you lose.
So, you've met with Lord Ishin?
Yes. He thanked me for defeating Genichiro.
I see. To think that Lord Genichiro would go as far as to drink the rejuvenating sediment.
Rejuvenating sediment?
That's what we call a particularly concentrated part of the rejuvenating waters. I'm sure you saw it for yourself. The rejuvenating sediment grants great resilience in one's flesh. One becomes able to withstand blows that would be fatal to anyone else. My mentor Dogen devoted much research to its uses, but all of his works, documents, medicines, everything, were burned and destroyed. I'm not sure who, but I heard one of the senior apprentices was able to salvage some of it, probably Dojun. Did you ask Lord Kuro's thoughts on the matter?
I did.
And?
We've decided to sever the ties of immortality.
I see.
I thank you for all of the help you've given me.
Almost sounds like you're bidding me farewell for good. I've carried out my lord's orders, so I will stay here in the castle. Come and speak to me whenever you please. I will provide my assistance to you as a doctor.
This dust is awful.
I have returned.
Oh, Wolf, you're back. Did you meet with Lord Ishin?
I did. He said the Mortal Blade, it could be the key to severing immortality.
The Mortal Blade.
It's a sword that has the power to kill the undying. It can be found at Senpou Temple.
I see. Yes, that seems promising.
As you say.
For my part, I hunted for any books that may contain clues about the aroma of the Fountainhead. It seems Lord Takeru indeed sought a way to reach the divine realm. So far, I found one piece of relevant information.
What is it?
A flower.
A flower?
First, read this. Lord Takeru left it behind. I was looking for information on the Fountainhead aroma and how it relates to the divine realm. There is water that flows from the Fountainhead through Ashina, and the book speaks of a white lotus flower that grows where the water pools deeply. It appears to be one component of the Fountainhead aroma.
A place where the Fountainhead waters pool deeply, perhaps in a deep valley?
Yes, indeed. The sunken valley may be the place. The Fountainhead waters should flow into there.
Where is this sunken valley?
It's beyond the woods to the rear of the castle. There's a shrine dedicated to the White Serpent deep in the woods. As the name implies, the sunken valley is just below that place. There's no proper path down there, but a man of your talent could navigate it.
My lord, this is for you.
Could this be? It's a Sakura droplet.
That's...
When the undying pledge of the dragon's heritage is broken, it's said that this remains in place of the oath.
Do you think this one was left behind by Lord Takeru?
That seems likely, Wolf. If you so desire, I can use this Sakura droplet to assist you.
If you should be so kind.
Of course. Close your eyes.
My lord.
Lord Takeru's dragon blood lives on with you.
I humbly accept.
Yes. You may open your eyes now.
My lord.
That was a boon granted by Lord Takeru. Use it well.
Yes.
So, with the Sunken Valley Passage key, we can finally go behind the gun fort and... Oh. Well, that doesn't look good. Yeah, this is the first instance where your ability to swim underwater is very helpful, as the Great Serpent is back for revenge after you cut out his eye. And if you can't dive underwater here, good freaking luck. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's a whole lot harder. But if you're careful underwater, you'll be able to get around much easier, though you're still not invisible to him completely. So, be careful. And be warned, just because you make it to the end doesn't mean you're completely home free, as you will very quickly realize that the serpent knows when you're about to escape and wants you to shit your pants one last time. Now, after that potential heart attack, the valley part of Sunken Valley is filled with monkeys with guns, and it's hilarious because they're not that dangerous and the guns can even blow up in their face. There is a poison area below us, but it's not really a factor here because the only worthwhile thing down there is a merchant with a poison gourd. But there's basically no more poison at this point in the game outside of one boss fight, so thanks game, I guess? Whatever. Deal with it if you wish. I'm not going to. As you're exploring, you'll probably run into this gathering of monkeys, and this is where we can use our new ninjutsu, Blood Smoke, to get the drop on them if we wish. You're gonna want to make sure you kill them all, so it's time to get down to some monkey business. When you do slay all the monkeys, you will get yourself some more sake. This is the monkey booze, that you can choose to share with your companions for extra dialogue. Believe it or not, the monkey booze sparks a really interesting conversation with Emma of all characters, so I'll show that off a bit later. Anyways, I guess it's time we get to the bottom of this monkey business and grab the item that we came here to get. No cutscene for this one. The Guardian Ape is an intense boss fight focusing heavily on slams and grabs. He can be deflected, but his timings take some getting used to, as he's a wild beast instead of a humanoid opponent. And it makes for an interesting battle. The trees can be used as grapple points to create or close distance between you and the boss, but aggression is the best way to handle the ape, as he is a scrappy opponent to deal with, far more dangerous than the average foe. However, he's a wild animal, not a warrior, so firecrackers will startle him for a good while, allowing a few hits on him. And not only do they do damage, but they can stun him, and the more hits you do, you can actually force him to fall back terrified, as he will back away from you. Watch out though, because he has potential attacks from every possible position. meaning from the side he can hit you, if he's on his back he can hit you. Even when he's seemingly helpless, he can hit you. And at a distance, he can literally grab and throw his shit at you to inflict poison, so maybe the green gourd has a bit more use than I was giving it credit for. He can be a tough foe, but ultimately he only has 1 health bar, so killing him shouldn't be too difficult to do. Yeah, maybe we're not quite done here. The sword we used to cut off his head is now being used against us, and with the beast no longer alive, the fear of firecrackers is gone. But fire would still work against him if you had the flame vent. This fight is where the purple gourd really comes in handy, as he can scream that not only does AoE chip damage, but also inflicts the terror status. If it builds up, you instantly die. The purple gourd not only resets your terror, but boosts your resistance to the status, so you can actually stay right in front of him when he's screaming and full balls and face tank the screen while going ham on him with something like Divine Confetti active. While this phase is cool, I'm not quite as big of a fan of it because the best strategy, if you can't adjust to his weird timings, is to wait. But it is still a fun boss nonetheless. Besides, it's only a one-on-one, so it's not that bad. And when you finally defeat the ape, you realize why he's still moving around, as the centipede shows he's infested, much like the guy we talked to in the tutorial. And we can't kill Tutorial Man yet, so we don't have the tools to slay this beast yet, do we? Oh no. Anyways, after the boss is dead, you not only get a memory, but you're able to get the Lotus of the Palace. This is an important item we're going to need later, so let's get on with our life and head up some mountains. The third area we need to go to is to get the Mortal Blade, so I say warp your ass to the abandoned dungeon and finally say hello to the Shichiman Warrior, aka the Bullet Hell Terror Man. Without Divine Confetti, he's super tanky, but with it, he's basically just the parking lot crackhead. Dangerous, but if I was to smack him with a sword enough times, I'm pretty sure he'd go down. Honestly, I don't actually hate this boss, even though the general opinion seems to be that he sucks. I don't care for his 2 rematches, but the initial warrior is okay in my book, and his item lets you sacrifice half your max HP to give yourself 5 spirit emblems. Not the best item, but it's actually not terrible, and it can be good if you're going for a much more aggressive strategy, and it's not like it cuts your HP bar in half, it just takes half your HP. You can heal it off with a gourd. So you could probably get some use out of that. Otherwise, the rest of the dungeon is very linear. Run on through it until you get to the elevator at the end. On your way, make sure to kill Dojin and his evil questline destroying ass, because screw him. Also, I didn't have audio for this bit, but it's hilarious how this like super menacing music starts playing and it's against an enemy you can kill in one shot. When reaching the top, you should do as instructed and look upon the image of the Divine One.
Those at the Senpo Temple have strayed from Buddha's teachings. They have abandoned their faith, seduced by a search for immortality. Should you be captured, there is no telling what would become of you. You would do well to return the way you came. However, I will not stop you from entering if you are determined to do so. But if you do, please proceed with care.
Welcome to Mount Congo, a very pretty area with a screwed up secret, as you'll see pinwheels throughout the area, as well as these monk enemies. These monks are not men of faith and peace, but instead are heretics that did horrible things in their hunt for immortality, such as allowing themselves to become infested like that giant ape we saw. But outside of the guys that punch the crap out of you, the brigands make a comeback as well, which is pretty interesting since the last time they were seen was at Hirata Estate. A little bit odd, but the old strategies still apply here and they're still very weak and easy to kill. This area has also got a lot more vertical level design than areas prior, but that's not a bad thing. In fact, I actually quite enjoy Mount Congo and its storytelling that we have going on here. And what kind of visual storytelling, you may ask? Because these pinwheels and the, I believe, Jizo statues that we've seen here are grave markers for all the children the monks have experimented on and ultimately killed. It's sickening, but we don't have time to question motives. We have ourselves a boss fight to tackle.
For the sake of put him so I will not.
This big guy here is the Armored Warrior, a man that came from the Western world to find a cure for his son. I'm not 100% sure where he's supposed to be from, but his helmet reminds me of the Spanish conquistadors, and his son is named Robert or Roberto, so Spain might be a safe guess, but I also haven't done that deep a dive on him since he lives and dies in this one arena. And also, I'm not really a lore guy. If you want that, go watch Body or something. The Armored Warrior can be seen as the precursor to Elden Ring bosses, with long wind-ups followed by quick follow-throughs, and his attacks can make for potentially tricky, well, attacks to deal with, making him a dangerous foe, on top of taking no damage from your attacks. But hey, I'm sure a critical strike will do him in regardless if we just keep up the pressure. Except, no, it doesn't. He does not get knocked down at all from critical strikes, but he does get knocked back. And I enjoy this fight because you beat him by using the strongest force in the universe to slay him. Gravity. Future Christian here. So, I had this question going on about why does the Memorial Mob guy have something called Robert's Firecrackers, except Robert is also the name of this guy's son? I mean, it's possible it could be two kids with the same name, but hey, we're in Japan. How likely is that? Not very. Well, I was told that Robert is actually one of the children that the monks attempted to have ascend and become a divine child, but of course he did not survive the experiments, and the reason the Memorial Mob merchant has his firecrackers is because his son is already dead. Though I don't know if the Armored Warrior actually knew this or not, or if he was simply fighting because he thought they were trying to save his son. Anyways, on with the video. Well, that was violent. So let's keep on exploring Mount Congo, which is still pretty linear on the way to the top, but that's not a bad thing. It's not a hub to explore, it's the peak of a mountain with a clear goal, and it kind of makes sense that it's more of a straight line, if you ask me at least. Of course, you may also notice the monks are beginning to look grayer and less human as we ascend the mountain. This infestation is getting out of hand and we need to find a way to put a stop to it. But putting a stop to it's not going to be easy when we have to deal with another long-armed centipede that needs to be brought down. Sin-Un has the same moveset as Giraffe, but instead of 2 health bars of a deflect test in a closet, he can be stealth striked and brought down to 1 health bar, with the trade-off being his little butt munches backing him up. Still, it's not hard in the slightest to take him down and snag yourself a pretty easy prayer bead. I don't even know if this fight's required. Otherwise, keep on climbing and killing as we ascend the mountain, dealing with the gross enemies along the way, wondering what the heck were they doing with all these bugs anyways? Is this about to turn into Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne? Am I gonna find Lucifer at the top of this mountain? I think the weirdest enemies on the map are these dudes that look kind of like Dojun. They can fire off what looks to be homing bottle rockets at you, but they move very slowly. You only ever see them during this one small part of Mount Congo after Sin-Un, but before the top of the mountain, so I don't know, I find them kind of interesting. If they do spawn somewhere else, let me know. I've only seen them here. Otherwise, there's really not much for me to say about it. I like Mount Congo a lot, don't get it wrong, it's one of my favorite levels, but it's also the least gimmicky area in the entire game, outside of, I guess, the Armored Warrior fight and it being more vertical. It's no craziness or anything that makes it more interesting to talk about, though that might also be a blessing. Once you reach the temple at the top, you can challenge the boss, but I ended up running around another 20 minutes looking for random items because I forgot you don't walk into the next boss arena, you actually have to click on an item to warp there.
3 monkeys. One of the panels is empty.
I recommend putting the elusive hall bell on your quick menu, and then get ready because it's time to get down to some monkey business. This is a puzzle boss. We have 4 monkeys to slaughter. So, the idea for folding screen monkeys is you need to take out all 4 targets and they each have their own gimmicks. The orange monkey, Speak No Evil, has bad hearing and eyesight, but if he sees you, he will make a loud noise and will alert all the other monkeys to your presence, letting them know to run away. The green monkey, Hear No Evil, has amazing hearing, so you cannot sneak up on him. However, he is very susceptible to firecrackers as well as loud noises like gongs, and if you take him into the waterfall room, he won't be able to hear you too well. The purple monkey, See No Evil, has amazing eyesight and can spot you from anywhere on the map, if you are in his line of sight. However, you can obscure his vision with things like wind or darkness. Alternatively, if you full balls it, you can also get very close to him and just firecracker him. The final monkey is the white monkey. He's actually the simplest one despite him being invisible, but he is Do No Evil, often forgotten and left out of the saying, which is probably the reason why he's invisible. Oh yeah, also terror chimps are in this fight, and they kinda drag the fight down. But with the monkeys taken care of, they're not actually slain, they just simply go back into their panels. We can finally meet with a divine child, the other immortal child in this world alongside Kuro, and she actually has the same voice actress. Now, I will mention it is kind of interesting how they have a boss that effectively guarding the big weapon upgrade, but it's not a fight, it's a puzzle boss. I don't hate it. I actually think the folding screen monkeys are a pretty underrated battle. But I probably would have had them be the first Guardian, and then maybe have Armored Warrior be like your second fight for a bit more of a proper combat challenge. I don't know, it'd be interesting to have like 2 different tests of sorts. Anyways, the other thing you get from defeating the monkeys outside of the memory, which increases your attack power, is the Puppeteer Ninjutsu. The best ninjutsu, honestly. Speaking with the child, she will warn us that all who draw the Immortal Blade die. Good thing we can die twice.
Why do you seek this place?
I seek the mortal blade.
Do you know of the blade that cannot be drawn?
Yes.
It is so called, for not one who has drawn it has ever survived. Yet you still wish to attempt this.
I do.
I see. Very well. If you are prepared, you may gaze upon the blade. Why is it, I wonder? Are they not loath to die? How are you? Your eye. I see. You carry the curse of the dragon's heritage.
The mortal blade, without question. I accept its power.
We now have the Mortal Blade, the final of the 3 key items we need during this middle act of the game, of sorts. And honestly, at this point, the game's difficulty takes a swan dive off the cliff. At least for me. There is one, maybe two bosses left that put up a serious fight for me. I will be abusing this power. I will be tearing my way through the game, because honestly, it was kind of crazy how, outside of like one boss fight that we will get to, after this point, I didn't really struggle with the rest of the game. But with the Mortal Blade, we have the final of our 3 key items. The Shelter Stone gives us the ability to swim underwater, as well as being an essential part of the ritual for the Fountainhead. The Lotus, as far as I know, is just a key item, so it gets you to the Fountainhead. And the Mortal Blade lets us sever the ties of immortality, or it's one of the steps to severing said ties. So at this point we can actually talk to the Divine Child some more, and she'll give us rice, and this is part of an absurdly long 20-step questline in order to obtain one of the game's endings, and while I like some of the dialogue it adds, I'm not doing this ending, guys. I'm doing the best ending in the game, so let's just not worry about this too much. Oh, we can't warp back to Ashina Castle. Oh no. But hey, no big deal. Though I gotta admit, I have this strange urge to go back to the poison swamp. And why is there a trail of blood? Yeah, this guy's talking about his neck, and if we head on in, it turns out that empty room we went through much earlier in the game maybe wasn't so empty after all. We just got lucky and it was unoccupied at the moment. The Headless Ape is back for round 2. Okay, certainly a choice to reuse a boss, but hey, he has 2 health bars now, so maybe that means the second phase will do something cool and different. But first, we have to get enough damage on his first phase, which honestly isn't too bad with the increased attack, as well as the Mortal Blade, and also the Purple Gourd for defense. So I guess the question then is, what does phase 2 offer? Second ape. Yeah... not really lighting the world on fire here, game. This means you have to fight both the Phase 1 and Phase 2 moveset at the same time, in a game that is not designed for multi-boss encounters with AI that does not coordinate. Thankfully, this boss is not even remotely difficult because of a simple Firecracker and Mortal Blade attack will put the butt munch at death's door, where a bit more punishment will finish it off in 10 seconds. What a joke. Sadly, after that, you're just back to fighting Headless Ape and his repetitive music again. I don't like this boss at all, and it's hot garbage, but it isn't hard enough for me to really hate it like some other From Software bosses, such as the likes of Lud and Zalin. But it's still a garbage battle, only really salvaged by its comedic lack of difficulty for me. And the reason I fought Guardian Ape first is because he still escapes even if you have the Mortal Blade, so it makes Sekiro not come off as inept, which I prefer. Now, slaying this crappy boss is at least worth your time. Putting Kratos Kong down for good gets you some pretty good rewards, as you'll get 2 prayer beads, a memory to boost attack, and if you have the Mortal Blade to slay this boss, you get a ninjutsu out of it as well. Pretty damn nifty. Oh, though I guess I should warn you, if you haven't killed Corrupted Monk after taking out Guardian Ape, this boss is no longer optional, it's now required. And I kinda hate that. Anyways, we should probably go check on Kuro, because something tells me not being able to warp in there is a pretty big problem. So we can't warp to Ashina Castle because something is going on here and it's not good, so I guess we should probably gather some information to try and figure out what the heck that is.
The next shift. I want to end it a while ago. No one's coming to take my place.
Once you've defeated Guardian Ape, Folding Screen Monkeys, and the Corrupted Monk, as well as collecting their quest items, Ashina Castle will become invaded by the Interior Ministry and their early attack forces. We need to reach the top to face off with whoever the heck is leading this attack. So yeah, things have gone pretty wrong in the castle, and with all the bridges put up, you can just speedrun your way to the top, but there's a few things you can find if you actually take the time to look around the place. One such thing is another chained ogre that isn't really that fun because he's crammed into a shoebox, but at the same time, you can't be sent off a cliff, but this fight ain't exactly better. In fact, I think it's considerably less fun because it lacks a lot of the character the original ogre had as a battle, and it looks the exact same too, which is pretty lame, considering that they actually have another design for the chained ogre style enemy that they could have used as a mini-boss later in the game, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Just know, It's kind of meh, but at least it does upgrade your healing, so it is worth killing. And if you decide to head to the path where the Sunken Valley is, you'd find that at the end is a lone shadow known as Masanaga the Spearbearer who seems to know and have a grudge against you. Remember this, it'll be important later. However, for the most part, he's just a lone shadow fight with a few extra tricks thrown in that I'm not going to go over because, well, we'll learn very soon why. Now, you don't have to do this right away, but if you're going for the game's true ending, I recommend you knock this out now by finding a way to get to Ishin's room. You can talk to him here if you want to, but the most important thing is going to be to eavesdrop. However, we do have some more sake scenes, so I'll be showing that as well as the eavesdrop scene. The eavesdrop is important for the true ending. You can do it after the boss fight, but you won't have a lot of time to do so.
Emma's always telling this old bastard.
I brought sake.
Smart thinking, my boy. Let me see. That's some good sake. This is how we drank when we won our battles. The people of Ashina, together as one.
Could you tell me about the rebellion?
Oh, the rebellion. We just took back what was stolen from us.
That's...
Before this land was... It's a place where we, the Ashina people, lived. Where the waters flowed straight from the source. We were a people who loved our country dearly. And we made good sake to boot. But we were heretics. And we were weak. Naturally, we were overrun. Trampled into submission for many long, excruciating years. We couldn't even pray at the water from the springs. The way we were then. Even good sake couldn't get us truly drunk.
But then, the world fell into chaos.
Yes. Amidst the chaos that was Japan. The endless casualties. The flames of war. We found the perfect opportunity to take back our land. But now, it's a place of death. It's a bitter thing indeed. You're leaving, Sekiro, another time.
Lord Ishin, I'm concerned that the Tengu will make another appearance.
Emma?
Yes.
I imagine Genichiro will show up eventually, to put it to use. The other mortal blade.
To protect Ashina, he'll abandon everything about who he is, won't he?
Yes. I expect no less from my own grandchild. However, I cannot let him use Kuro's blood. He can only swing the blade but a few more times. And when that happens, the Tengu will be no more.
But there is the other one.
You mean Sekiro? He is a sullen sort, but I can't say I detest the lad. In truth, he fascinates me.
Now we can progress the story a little bit further, and we'll come across our next major mini-boss in the area where we fought Jinsuke Saizai, the Lone Shadow Vilehand. This man likes to poison you, and he has another Lone Shadow here to provide assistance. This makes this fight a complete and total mess, if you choose to fight him fairly. See, we have a ninjutsu that comes in handy here because you can stealth off a half a health bar from the boss if you want, or you can be smart and sneak around to use your puppeteer ninjutsu on the Lone Shadow enemy that is in the room with him, because this will turn the fight from an oppressive 1v2 into a comedic 2v1. Though you do still take friendly fire, so be a bit careful. Though I have to ask, they're not really lone shadows if there's two of them now, is there? Oh yeah, and thankfully getting this game's true ending isn't half as cryptic as unlocking the Umbral ending in something like Lords of the Fallen.
I heard stories of your death, yet here you are. What are you plotting, Owl?
Plotting? I would do no such thing. Now, my lord, I must ask that you accompany me. This old bird has but one desire. To protect the divine heir from those that might take his esteemed blood.
So, the dragon's heritage has seduced you too. Then there is nothing to discuss. Take your leave.
I would, my lord, but I'm so stunned by this view. I'd like to take it in just a while longer. I'll leave when I've had my fill.
Father, to think you were still alive.
That was my design, but the same could be said for you. I was certain you died that night.
The power of the divine heir brought me back.
That's it.
What?
The divine heir's power, the dragon's blood, must be mine.
Father.
Now you see it. Remember the first rule of the code. As your father, I order you to forsake your master. From this moment, he is your master no more.
Forsake the divine heir.
Listen to me, Wolf. Obey your father's command, and forsake the divine heir.
Shit. Sekiro, it was not to be.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad idea, not gonna lie.
I cannot do as you ask.
You... what? A shinobi, showing the likes of... compassion. Unthinkable. Such a... miserable display. Why, boy? Why can't you understand your father's will? Have you forgotten the shinobi code?
A code must be determined by the individual. This is what I've decided. Just as my master did.
Seems you've grown, if just a little. Have it your way. Young wolf.
we have ourselves a boss fight against Great Shinobi Owl, our father, and he fights dirty as hell using poison mist, shurikens, firecrackers, and a mist ball that turns off our ability to heal. This battle is very different from other fights because he doesn't fight like any other opponent in this game, and he also is the only boss that lacks any form of perilous attacks, barring the monkeys, I guess. Meaning Makiri will not help you here, but it also means you can deflect all his sword attacks at least. And I should mention, the door cheese does still work, it's just a lot harder to do against Owl, though that was how I originally beat him, because when I originally played Sekiro, this was the boss I got stuck on, basically for the better part of a year, and just decided to drop the game there, and then I came back in 2020 and I beat him using the door cheese. In hindsight, I'm not quite sure why he gave me that much trouble. I actually beat this boss on my first attempt.
Wait! It warms my heart to see how you've grown.
Yeah, a shinobi fights dirty, who'da thunk. Phase 2 is a lot of the same things Phase 1 did, but now he uses his healing nullification a lot more often, and he has smoke bombs to break your lock, where he'll then proceed to sneak up behind you to attack. Make no mistakes, it's a tough boss fight, but there is something a bit odd about this battle, and that's the music. Maybe it's just me, but this song always reminded me of Pinwheel's boss theme from Dark Souls 1, which, if intentional, is a very strange callback. Either way, Owl can be a tough foe, but I managed to bring him down on my first try, so good for me, I guess. Maybe I've gotten better at these games finally.
You taught me well.
That's my boy.
With Owl dead, we have now entered Act 3 of the game. The world will be tougher from now on, but hold your horses, we have some stuff to do. One such thing is giving Emma the monkey booze. Yes, seriously.
Here.
Oh, this is monkey booze.
Something wrong?
Well, let me try it. Oh, it burns so bad. Let's see. Yes, monkeys. I seem to have a strong connection with monkeys.
You do?
Yes. I was rescued by a monkey after all. You don't believe me, do you? When I was young, I stood alone in the aftermath of a battlefield. I was alone and staring, dumbfounded. I could do nothing, neither cry nor even get angry. Complete shock. And then there was a monkey eating a rice ball.
A monkey. Maybe an ape.
Maybe. Either way, he made it look so delicious. I remember being angry at that, but then he gave me the rice ball. It tasted so good.
What a kind monkey.
Yes. He was a very kind monkey.
I originally gave it to her as a joke. I was not expecting a bunch of backstory from her, but when I got that scene, it's like, oh, that's actually a pretty cool detail. I'd never seen that before. Anyways, whether you're going for the true ending or the regular ending, we have to talk to Kuro and Emma a ton. You speak with them and they will point out to you where you need to go throughout Act 2 of the game after beating Genichiro, but if you've played a FromSoft game, your general instinct is probably to continue exploring a place until you reach a dead end. Though, the dialogue does actually give Kuro a nice little bit of personality, and we get our destination of Fountainhead Palace eventually. Back where we fought the corrupted monk in Mibu Village. Now, we're going to wait a little bit until we head there, because you really want to get this other stuff done right now. Oh, and just a warning, if you're like me and you haven't been talking to the NPCs constantly between each major boss fight, you may have to quit and reload after you exhaust all their dialogue just for them to progress a little bit. General rule for the true ending steps is after you have done your eavesdrop, you want to make sure you reload the world and then you go and speak with Emma and confront her because she's pretty quick to tell you what's actually going on. One of those actions you'll need to perform is to actually follow her to Lord Takeru's grave, where we will learn more about how our potential lead is unfortunately probably a dead end. Then head back to the sculptor's house.
I can't honestly say. To achieve their goal of immortal severance, either he or Lord Kuro must die. Why does that have to be the only way?
So will you keep that from them?
But orangutan, if I give this to him, he's going to die.
I could have sworn it happened earlier, but I guess that's where they name-dropped the sculptor's actual name, Orangutan. And I'm pretty sure he's the monkey that fed Emma when she was little.
Oh, you're here, Master Wolf.
Was the sculptor able to help?
Unfortunately, no. I'm afraid we'll need to look for other clues.
One of us must die. What did that mean?
Were you listening this whole time?
Tell me.
I saw it that day beneath the branches of the Everblossom tree. Lady Tomoe tried to commit suicide.
Why?
She said those made immortal by the oath of the dragon's heritage shackle their masters.
So in order for the purification to occur, the oathbound of the dragon's heritage must die?
Yes, precisely.
But she was unable to achieve the purification.
Correct. She did not have the mortal blade. I don't want to lose Lord Kuro or you, but all paths are leading to dead ends.
What are you hiding?
So, you overheard.
Tell me. Do what must be done. I will live by those words, as my master does.
Here.
Is this a bell?
It fell off Owl's dead body, if I'm not mistaken. You and Master Owl have a deep connection. Should you offer it to Buddha, it may be a different experience than the one you had before.
I will try it.
I am not sure what memories you will see, but the bell belonged to Master Owl, so please, take care. Goodbye, Master Wolf.
Unfortunately, it seems that either the Master or the Shinobi must die to truly sever our immortality, but we need to go back to the past to learn the truth of everything. But you know what? I feel like I'm forgetting something here. Okay, let's go time travel again. We use the bell to find ourselves back at the Hirata estate, just a lot more on fire than before and only the second half of the Hirata estate. Heading back doesn't really lead to any new content, but if you head into the burning building,
You're supposed to be dead. It doesn't matter. I'll kill you now and all will be as it's cold.
as mentioned earlier, Masanaga is fought twice in this game, and he has the same moves as the Lone Shadow Longswordsman, but he also has the poison attacks seen by Vilehand. The arena here is larger than any other Lone Shadow battle, but the borders are on fire, so you do still need to be pretty careful. He also has a unique move where if he creates distance, instead of a basic posture recovery, he can actually call wolves to join in the battle. So, you need to keep up the pressure throughout the fight, because if you let him, things will get out of hand and you will get overwhelmed quickly, so keep a cool head and lay on the attack. After Masanaga goes down, the rest of Hirata Estate is mostly unchanged layout-wise, just with tougher enemies than before and a lot more on fire, so be careful. Oh. I do not like this boss fight at all. You have to take on both Juzuo and Masanari at the same time, and the two of them are facing one another, making it impossible to sneak up and cheat off a health bar or kill Masanari. And that's not being helped by the fact that there are brigand archers all around the place. You can use Puppeteer on them, but these brigands aren't going to really last long. Masanari may only have a single health bar, but he's just as aggressive as any other lone shadow in the game, and the poison arrow brigands aren't really helping things either. Juzuo is Juzuo. I had to wonder though, what the hell is he doing back here? Isn't he supposed to be dead? Anyways, kill him and make sure to do it properly this time, because I really have no idea how he's still alive. We already killed him earlier and he's not a ninja, so he doesn't have that bullshit power. The area after Juzuo and Masanari is actually a pretty good grinding spot for both skill points and money, and you might just need it because we're about to fight one of the toughest battles in the game.
That day, I pulled you from the battlefield, a starving cub. I had no idea what you'd become.
Father.
It breaks my heart. But I'm putting you down!
One of the game's two super bosses and the guardian of my personal favorite ending were forced to fight Owl once again, but this time it's no longer an aggressive sparring match like the Great Shinobi battle was. Instead, you're facing off with your father, and he's pulling no punches here. Instead of his dirty tricks, the only shinobi tools he really uses are the shurikens and the firecrackers, and even then, he's mostly going all out with his sword. However, as another shakeup, he now has perilous attacks like thrusts and sweeps that can cover distances, so you won't be able to get that far away from Owl. And I guess now's a good time to mention their voice actors. Wolf, as you may have noticed, actually talks, unlike most FromSoft protagonists. And he's voiced by Noshir Dalal, probably better known for being Mysterio in the Spider-Man games, but for me, he's more associated with Fu from No More Heroes 3. Meanwhile, Owl is voiced by Darren DePaul, who has voiced characters like Van Damme from Xenoblade X and Escharum from Halo Infinite, but is probably best known for voicing Samuel Hayden in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, as well as the Creed Maker in the newly released Doom The Dark Ages. But of course, this is a two-phase boss fight, and Phase 1 is merely just a warm-up. Phase 2 increases the aggression while also bringing his owl spirit into battle that can be used to create a trail of fire your way. Be grabbed onto to reposition quickly, and he can also fade into the background before warping to the location of his owl. On top of that, he can now prepare a long-range charge attack that can be punished, but if careless, he'll perform an upward slash to counter you. And speaking of counters, he has the ability to bounce off of you and Makiri you the same way you can against him, and this is pretty much the only boss fight in the game where your posture meter actually matters. It's a tough battle, but it's also one of the best bosses ever made, and by far my favorite boss fight in this game. But it's also the hardest boss in this game, because this was the only boss after getting the Mortal Blade that took me over 10 tries. In fact, this boss took me 42. I might be a little bit masochistic, but then again, I play From Software games. This isn't really a surprise. When he's dead, make sure you give the Everblossom flower to Emma, and now you've done everything you need to unlock the game's true ending, so we can just play through it as normal without having to worry. A lot easier than Cave Story, that's for sure.
I have it.
An Everblossom flower. Yes. There's no mistaking it. Please show me your face. Something has happened, I see.
This will allow my lord to achieve purification. I am merely doing what must be done.
I understand. I bid you good fortune in the battles to come. Master Wolf.
Yes?
I pray for your victory in battle.
Thank you.
Now, before we head off to Fountainhead to reach the endgame, I think it's time we use our Mortal Blade to actually help someone instead of just kill the shit out of them. I mean, we're still going to kill the shit out of them, but this time in a helpful manner.
That sword on your back, what is it?
The Mortal Blade.
What? It's real? You don't suppose you could use it to end this curse of mine?
I will. Of course.
Thank you. A man with your skill could grant a merciful death, couldn't you?
Leave it to me.
Splendid. I must give my thanks to Sekiro. I will prepare for the beyond. The next time you see me, I'll be ready. I can finally die. My shame for not following my master into death can finally...
You're certain of this?
Yes. I want you to kill me.
As you wish.
Go on. Do it.
And I guess while we're running around, we should probably finally do something about that ghost lady that's on the way to Fountainhead, since, you know, it's on the way and everything.
Why are you crying?
Because I'm sad.
What are you sad about?
I don't know where Lord Sakusa is, or what he's doing. It breaks my heart. If I can't see him, I'd at least like to know. But no matter how many letters I send, he never writes me back, and no one will tell me where he is. Actually, sir, can you tell me? Where is Lord Sakusa?
I don't know.
You're a liar, too. Why must everyone hide him from me?
This is Orin of the Water, one of the most creative and dynamic mini-bosses in the game, with enough going on for her to act as a full-blown boss fight, and honestly, I would have preferred her over Corrupted Monk as the main boss of Mibu Village. Her movements are very dance-like and different from any other mini-boss in the game, which is good, because this whole unique fight stands out a lot more when she doesn't have 87 reskins. That's honestly what makes her and Armored Warrior such cool fights in my opinion. They don't get reused to high heaven, so their interesting gimmicks and mechanics actually get to stand out. Orin is kind of a spirit, so Divine Confetti will help a lot, but it's not mandatory, as she does have to become corporeal to actually start attacking you, though when she's being evasive, you're probably not going to hit her too much.
I'm so glad. Lord Sakusa brought me that man in his stead. Oh, and he's right over there.
Now, with all the stuff to reach Fountainhead and Owl dealt with, let's head off to Fountainhead Palace with one of the weirdest cutscenes in the entire game. Just watch. What are you? Anyways, just head on down the giant hair monster and sit at the idol because we have a suspiciously boss arena shaped room, so you know what time it is. Say hello to a familiar face, and while the corrupted monk was a serious pain in the ass, you might be surprised to hear that I genuinely like the true corrupted monk battle. Her phase 1 fight is mostly the same, but now she takes actual posture damage, and you have more tools at your disposal, such as Long Spark, the Lazulite Axe, and probably a lot more disposable items. Meanwhile, Phase 2 decides to shake things up a lot, as she will now summon in these weird shadow clone things to attack you in sets of 3. The idea is to either dodge them until she leaves herself open for a stealth strike to one-tap Phase 2, or you can bum rush her when she spawns in because the second health bar is actually extremely tiny. It's honestly more like a fancy phase transition, but I still like it. But don't rest, because after Phase 2 the monk will be dead, but she has a third health bar because the fight isn't over, which is the first time since Genichiro we've seen a boss with that, and her form of immortality was the Infested. The music in the last phase does a great job showing just how diabolical this monster is, and while fighting somewhat similarly to Phase 1, she uses a lot more slam attacks and savagely beating you with blunt objects, sort of fighting style. This fight could potentially be difficult, especially with the Terror Spit, but we have the Purple Gourd, and with your increased arsenal and the absolute busted jumping mortal draw, you can slaughter her like most other foes without much issue, and I did. I took this boss down on my first attempt, earning yourself another memory and a tally on the board, which... Not a tally on the board, just the tally board, which lets you buy more stuff from the market, such as Divine Confetti and other useful goodies. Welcome to Fountainhead Palace. This large open area may look like you can just swim to the end, but that is no bueno, as there is an asshat in a tree firing lightning at you, and unless you're good at speedrunning, it pretty much will always kill you. Regardless, this is a very pretty level filled with carps, water, and surprisingly, new enemy types as well. Though for now, we're dealing with the reskin Mist Nobles that aren't the ultimate destroyers of the world, instead they just teleport you to the beach that makes you old. Oh yeah, there's also dogs here that can shoot lightning. At least they're easy to kill. There is a questline associated with this lady, but I'm not doing it this run. Anyways, the other major enemy types you'll see here are the Okami Warriors. These guys are a lot jumpier than foes you've seen here. They're a very lively, bouncy foes with fun combos, and they make goofy noises, which remind me of the Hollow Knight characters, honestly. Imagine the Woo guys, but all their attacks involve a Woo. I like them. There's actually a mini-boss roaming around here, the Sakura Bull, a modified version of the Blazing Bull, but oddly, despite having higher stats, it lacks any additional status effects, which, honestly, between that and the Fountainhead reskin design, I actually prefer this fight a lot over the Bull, even if it is still kind of a pain in the ass. You can lure it into the cliff, though, and have it basically insta-kill itself for you, which is pretty funny. The second half of Fountainhead Palace is a lot less stealthing around and a lot more fighting as the nobles are gone, and it's more or less just Okami warriors. These fights can be tough as the enemies love using the powers of electricity, but they can also be a lot of fun to deal with, especially when you decide to use Puppeteer to get, well, other enemies involved in the fight. There's also a Shichiman warrior chilling out here, but I honestly have no idea why. It's kind of a pain in the ass with this cramped arena, and the lightning dogs nearby him, well, yeah, it's not fun and it doesn't give a good reward for beating him. It just gives an upgrade item, the lapis lazuli, which you can kind of find some of those anyways, and also you're not really going to use the lapis lazuli for anything at this point in the game unless you're going for New Game Plus. There's also the Okami leader Shizu. She is the leader of the Okamis and the one who shoots lightning at you if you try to go for a swim, but she's an absolute joke. And I don't know why she's the only Okami mini-boss in the game. Like, we only have one interior ministry mini-boss that I know of, but he does a lot better, and we'll get to him when that's relevant. You can go swimming, and if you explore the bottom parts of Fountainhead, you'll come across an optional battle against not one, but two underwater headless. My least favorite boss in the game, and the underwater version is absolutely pointless. The reason I haven't acknowledged them at all this video is because I hate them, and I really didn't bother fighting any of them because it's honestly not worth it, unless you're a speedrunner. This game doesn't have bad underwater controls, and I feel like they could have made an interesting underwater boss, but let me just say, this ain't Ender Magnolia, if you know what I'm saying. Just kill these guys so you can continue to get carp scales if you want to be unimpeded and get some easy upgrades in the future. You can also encounter the great carp when swimming initially, but when you finally gain the ability to progress, the giant killer fish will start to hunt you down, destroying the entire, well, building structure, I guess, around you, and a completely unique track play showing just how dangerous this giant monster is. And it's not an idol of worship for no reason at all. It can and will one-shot you. We can't really kill this guy through conventional means, and really, unless you're a completionist, it's probably not worth killing him anyways. Just kind of leave him be, but I'll show how to do it later. The final segment of Fountainhead is mostly just to rush to the end, facing off with a horde of the true Mist Nobles, so we stand no chance on our own, and our best bet is to use the ninjutsu on one of them to win them over to our side so they can fight them off for us. But if they step outside, we learn their bodies cannot sustain in sunlight, interestingly enough. And the treasure they guard is the final gourd seed of the game. We can now have 10 heals, which is pretty dang useful, I'd say. The last stretch of Fountainhead is actually just an ascent up the mountain, with a few lightning bolts along the way. Make sure you grab the idol before jumping into the boss fight, though I will also warn you, once you defeat the boss here, that is the point of no return for this game. So I'm going to do a little bit more exploring and do those last little bit of cleanup. I want to kill that dang fish, but before that, we should probably get the goodies out of it. So first, you should feed him the precious bait for more scales, and then feed him the truly precious bait to fully eliminate the carp. That'll take him out of the equation permanently.
Master. Where are you?
So I did learn after completing the game that there actually is a questline you can do with this dude, but I don't really care. Basically, if you want to, you can go to where you fought the Guardian Ape, find the catfish corpse, how it got there, I'm not sure, and get a whisker. You can give it there, and then this guy will die at peace. But if you choose to fight him, he's an NPC that has 2 health bars, and it designs similar to a noble, but he was hitting the gym because while everyone else was busy stealing youth, this guy was just getting jacked. Why? He fights like the Chained Ogre, and you know what? It's actually pretty cool having a different design, and I kind of wish we would have had our second Ogre battle use this design as opposed to just being a second Chained Ogre for some reason. I don't know. It's interesting, but what I care more about is the sake, so let's have the last sake conversation of the game with the sculptor.
You have a slightly different air about you now. It's as though you've overcome something.
I brought some tea.
This tea smells pretty good. Suppose I'll have some. Oh, I needed that. This tea reminds me of Emma's father.
About Lady Emma's father?
Dogen. He was an extraordinary doctor. He was also very well versed in mechanisms and devices. Better put, He was obsessed with mechanisms to the point that it affected his health. He didn't take much else seriously, but I owed him my life. And we could say that you owe him your life as well.
What do you mean?
When I lost my left arm, Dogen created that thing, which has now become your left arm. The first version was a complete failure, didn't work at all, so he remade it. Then he remade it again and again, countless times.
What?
He told me I needed to practice with the prosthetic in order to use it properly. So Emma would pester me into carving her spinning tops and other toys. After much training of that sort, it came to be called a shinobi fang. In other words, that prosthetic arm is Dogen's legacy.
His legacy?
So much time has passed. While I have abandoned my shinobi ways, that alone I could not bear to abandon.
We're going to need a special item to forge the last major shinobi prosthetic, the Whistle of Malcontent, and there is only one place you can get that item. So let's go do it. Head back to where you fought the Headless Ape to find another Shichiman warrior. Alright, I may go to bat for this guy more than some people do, but do we really need a third battle against him? I feel like we should have stopped at the one in the abandoned dungeon and had some other monster as the monster of the ring here. At least now we have a chance to use the Lilac Umbrella to absolutely fuck this man and his terror orbs over. It can be pretty satisfying to pull off, and beating it gets you the Malcontent ring, as well as letting you reactivate the idol here, and, you know, a few extra skill points, I guess. With the ring, we can make the Malcontent Whistle, which sort of acts like the silver pendant from Dark Souls 1. It's useful for the super boss, and basically nowhere else. At this point, I recommend exploring and finishing any quest lines you may wish to complete, because once you tackle the next boss and defeat it, you'll be thrust into the endgame, as well as the point of no return, where the world will undergo a permanent change and some areas will be blocked off permanently.
The Divine Realm.
Our battle at the end of Fountainhead is bizarre, to say the least. We're going against the Old Dragon of the Tree. This monster is a horde of hive mind-ish opponents you must face off against, coughing poison or stabbing at you with their knives. It's bizarre, but it kind of reminds me of Dynasty Warriors with how you can cut down dozens of them in like 1 or 2 goes. Another interesting fact is, as the boss loses HP, it begins to rot, causing him to become more aggressive, and the rotten tree dragons don't actually count towards the boss health bar, so focus on the healthy living ones. Thankfully, the bizarre fight isn't the true battle. Say hello to From Software's attempt at a Zelda boss as the Divine Dragon has us grapple hooking our way from tree to tree, dodging his wind slashes, and using the lightning redirects in order to damage him, all while fighting in the best looking arena in the entire game, up in the clouds, and seeing the peaks of mountains in the distance. Don't be fooled by the single health bar, though, as this boss actually has 2 phases inside this fight on its own. The first bit, with you going from tree to tree, is actually pretty easy, but it's still a lot of fun and I enjoy it. When he's one hit away from death, he will always push you back with his wind, and both the music and dragon will go absolutely crazy at this point. The final phase of the fight is a pinch mode, but it is genuinely a little bit tough, and I love that. It's not overly difficult, but there's just enough there to make it feel like I'm working for the win. And also, you can parry the wind slashes, but man do I suck at it. After surviving his onslaught, you must grapple onto a tree for lightning, being forced higher and higher until you can get the lightning to deliver the final blow. And at this point, the dragon will no longer move, you must simply walk up to it and finish him off. I don't care what anyone else says, that is an S tier boss fight. Unfortunately, as we return, it seems as if Ishin and the nation of Ashina has taken a turn for the worse. We need to find Kuro, and the best place to look is back where the game began. It's time to see what's become of Ashina. To put it simply, Ashina is on fire. The Interior Ministry and the Ashina soldiers are engaged in an all-out war, fighting to the last man while the environment burns around us. And for some reason, the Ashina soldiers will still go out of their way to try and kill us. Well, sometimes. Sometimes they don't. It's weird. If you go back to where we originally met with Kuro, you'll find a very difficult battle against the 7 Ashina spears and a general assisting him. There are a couple ways you can handle this fight, but the best way is to use your stealth boosting sugar for the first time in the game, and sneak up on the general to puppeteer him since he's not counted as a mini-boss. 7 spears may be a tough foe, but with a meat shield on your side and an increased arsenal, he shouldn't be too much of a threat. However, they were mentioning a Lord Genichiro, so I guess we can figure out what happened after that, and I guess he kind of, well, came back, since we never really got to kill him, did we? After that, simply head down the moat, back to where Genichiro originally wrecked our ass and cut our arm off at the start of the game. Past this point, you will encounter Genichiro and have the final battle of the whole game take place. But we still have a super boss on the loose, so let's do a bit of backtracking for a second. If you find this dying soldier, you can choose to speak with him and he will let you know of a kite you can take, and also you can choose to back up the Ashina soldiers. Now, the ones that are not engaged, at least down here anyways, will no longer see you as an enemy. But that's only if you're going on the route to the super boss. The ones on the route to Kuro are Lord Genichiro soldiers, and they will still try to kill you. At least, that's my guess anyways. You'll see some gashes along the way, and if you keep hopping across the roofs, you'll see there's a kite that's suspended in the air without a woo guy to attack us. Instead, it's a grapple point that takes us very far over here. Pretty cool.
You burden our reinforcement force. Please hurry. The castle outskirts are in bad shape. Damn Astrid forces. Taking up the Serpent Valley. Distant Greenwich. Please.
At this point, our objective is pretty simple. Slaughter the Red Guard of the Interior Ministry, and make our way to the game's super boss to find out what the heck this giant monster is that's been wreaking havoc and leaving these flaming gashes all over the place. Of course, it's not going to be easy when standing in our way is the final drunkard enemy and also final mini-boss of the game, Shigekichi of the Red Guard. A far more advanced drunkard than Juzuo was, and honestly a decent bit more fun because of better arena design and less annoying backup. On top of that, his moveset is not a it's not a one-to-one of Juzuo's. Instead, he opts for a lot of fire moves, like Flaming Breath, coating his sword in fire. This is the game's hint that you may want to get yourself some fire defense, like the Red Gourd and the Umbrella. Regardless, I actually kind of like this battle because you can somewhat realistically separate Shigekichi from the mooks, and maybe even puppeteer one or two of them. I think he works well as a good final mini-boss, and I'm glad that he actually has a unique design instead of just being another Juzwo reskin like a lot of the mini-bosses are. It's nice, I appreciate that, and I kind of wish they would have done that for the Chained Ogre with the fishy variant up in Fountainhead. After that fight, there's a few more enemies, such as Chained Ogres as regular enemies, and when you're ready to take on the super boss, commune with the mysterious idol, past all the flames and scratch marks, in order to see what sort of demons lie in wait for us. The Demon of Hatred is the super boss of this game, being immune to all shinobi prosthetics other than the Whistle of Malcontent to stun him. Does this mean prosthetics are useless here? No, not quite. Malcontent gives you 3 stuns against him that last for an increasingly long period of time. The axe still damages, even if not recommended traditionally, and the reinforced umbrella can block his flaming projectiles, which is useful. It's a very tough fight and different from a lot of the other Sekiro bosses, so deflections probably aren't going to be the way to go, but aggression still very much is. I know some people absolutely despise this boss fight because you shouldn't battle him like a traditional Sekiro foe, instead you should focus on dodging him, but I recently ran through the entire Dark Souls trilogy for the past review retrospectives as well as beating AI limit, so dodging attacks is still somewhat fresh enough in the brain for me. Plus, if you want to have an easier time, you can always use the Whistle of Malcontent in order to stun the boss up to 3 times, and it honest to goodness stuns him for so long you can just negate one of his health bars entirely if you so wish. It can be a tough fight, but with Dark Souls 3 still fresh in the mind, it only actually took me 5 attempts to win, and this was my first time ever facing this boss, so I was pretty surprised by that. He's hard, but I don't think he's this ultimate world breaker that some people say he is. Still, it's a boss capable of being extremely difficult, as this is what became of the sculptor, and we learned why he lost an arm, as this is more or less what you become in the Shura ending, albeit much more powerful. The Demon of Hatred is Shura, or at least an aspect of it, and it's not to be taken lightly. This fight may be completely optional, but it's a boss I think is very much worth the player going out of their way to tackle because there's not even a complicated questline tied to it. You just go talk to the guy in the endgame and find it. I get why some people may not like this battle, but he's one of my personal favorites, and once we bring him down, the only thing that'll be left is to stop Genichiro and finally beat this game.
Bakuro.
Shinobi of the Divine Air, we meet again. Behold, the second mortal blade.
Genichiro. If you think you can change Ashina's fate with such a thing, you are mistaken. Wolf. No one has the right to the dragon's heritage. It is no one's to bear. I wish there was another way.
It's all right.
One last time.
Yes. Let's finish this.
I will restore Ashina to glory.
Our final battle against Genichiro in the same arena where he kicked our ass at the start. And man, is it a letdown. He has a mortal blade of his own now, but with only a single HP bar, he can be cut down very quickly. Kinda makes me wonder if there's more to this boss fight than it's initially being let on.
I will not allow Ashina to be crushed.
In the end, I was powerless, but Ashina will rise once more. The dragon blood surging through her veins. With this, Ashina's long night comes to an end.
Pitiful grandchild. This was your last wish. To see Ashina return from the great beyond. Which means Sekiro. I must destroy you.
Okay, for real this time, Ishin in his prime is the final boss of the game, and it's pretty damn cool. Though I gotta be honest, I kinda wish Genichiro was the final boss of this Immortal Severance ending. He's a good foil to Wolf and Kuro, as Genichiro wishes to restore Ashina to its glory that it once held in the past, even if that means tainting the memory with things like a corrupt immortality that would let the dragon rot plague the land. Meanwhile, Wolf and Kuro wish to sever immortality and move forward with life, seeing wherever it may take them. Unfortunately, Genichiro decides after one health bar that he no longer vibes with this universe, and now we're fighting Grandpa. Phase 1 is honestly pretty easy though, arguably even easier than Genichiro was. This phase shouldn't really give you too much trouble at all. The real challenge begins when you get to Phase 2 as the storm begins to rage and he pulls out two new weapons. The first is the spear, giving him new combos he can perform, and the second is the Glock, to gun you down at range if you can't deflect. A lot of people consider this one of the hardest battles in the game, and I have a slight rebuttal. Don't get me wrong, this fight is awesome, but it's not that difficult, especially if you've taken on the likes of Al Father, and unlike Soul of Cinder, who maintains his difficulty and gets harder on replays, I honestly think this fight's difficulty drops off a cliff once you know what he can do. Which isn't necessarily bad game design, but I don't think he's this pinnacle of difficulty or this unbeatable titan that some people think he is. Like, this was my first time fighting him in 5 years, and I beat him on my 4th try. In fact, once I got past this phase, I beat the final phase on my first try. The final phase is less of a balls-to-the-wall challenge and more theatrics, as the only change, as far as I know, is the introduction of lightning, which means it's time to parry. His moveset is otherwise unchanged from Phase 1, and the lightning gives more openings. If you can make it here and have at least one gourd left, you've pretty much won. So, kick ass and take names. With the final boss slain, all that's left is to pick your ending based off of the stuff you've accomplished up to this point in the game. We also unlock something known as the Gauntlets of Strength, which act as a sort of boss rush for those looking for a bit more of a challenge.
Wolf, where are you?
I am at your side. Take the dragon tears. I hereby condemn the last immortal. May you live on and embrace what it means to be human.
So you're leaving?
Yes. I too will live for every moment. And then I will pass on. Just as my shinobi did for me. Lady Emma, I owe much to you as well.
And that, my friends, is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. A fun game to be sure, and a cool experiment on From Software's part at making a new IP, something that they hadn't really done, unless you count Bloodborne, since the Souls series started, though they would eventually go on to do it again with Duskbloods, which hopefully that game ends up being good. It does share some of the Soulsborne DNA, but stands far more on its own than the others like, say, Bloodborne does, or Elden Ring. Though, the weirdest thing about this game is the difficulty. It's a very tough game, until you get the Mortal Blade. Then the challenge kind of falls off a cliff. Nothing can stand up to the jumping Mortal Blade, really, outside of Owl Father and kind of Demon of Hatred, but that's about it. Did I enjoy the game less because of that? No, not at all. I had a great time. Personally, I still prefer the likes of the Dark Souls trilogy, Elden Ring, and Armored Core, but I had a fun time here, and I still sure as hell prefer this over Demon's Souls and probably even over Bloodborne, but it's been a long time since I've played Bloodborne and I don't have the means to record it, so that's going to be a while till we get there. Otherwise, yeah, this video wasn't quite as big of an endeavor as the likes of the Dark Souls 3 video was for me, but I tried my best to make it a good one and hopefully be as entertaining of a product as I could. As far as thank you goes, well, I guess thanks to my friends for being a bit of test audience for some of this stuff, and I don't really have as much stuff here, because this one wasn't really like some big ordeal of, oh, I've got to make this perfect, I've got to make this perfect. It's like, no, I just kind of worked on it and got to it. So, I guess the only other big thank you would probably be to RussianKnight for once again making the thumbnail for this video, which you should be seeing pop up on the screen sometime around now, assuming it didn't screw up in the editing. And I'll be linking his stuff in the description below. Anyways, that's pretty much all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed it and want to see more content of varying quality, consider liking and subscribing. A personal favorite of mine is the Dark Souls 3 video, but I've also covered games such as Megasalt 1 and Spectrobes, which I'm quite proud of both of those projects. And if you have any interest in either of those series, I've also done boss rankings on them as well. If you've watched this far, clearly I must be doing something right in your eyes. And I look forward to giving you all some more videos in the near future, as I've actually got a couple other projects pretty much ready to go and should hopefully be out pretty soon. Look forward to more videos in the future, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone.